Hey everybody, I'm Robert Donovan. Welcome to this episode of Tradecraft Solutions. In our last episode, we set up a basic financial structure designed to automate your savings. In this episode, we're going to talk about automating paying your bills and adding an investment component. Once you have your savings automated, which we discussed in the last video, there are a couple of situations you may have to deal with: debt and unstable income. If your debts are so high you have trouble saving and your income is stable, use the $1-a-day method, which I talked about in a previous video. There's a link to it below, and put the savings you get from that to extra principal payments to pay off debts. Once you pay off your smaller debts, and you have maybe the big ones like a student loan, maybe a big car loan, or a mortgage if you have one, split the savings from the $1-a-day method between paying extra principal payments on your remaining debts and building a 6 to 12 month emergency fund in your savings account. If your debts are interfering with your ability to save because they're so high, and your income is not stable, it's sporadic or inconsistent, maybe your hours each week vary a little bit, or you're not regularly employed, that can be really hard to keep on an even keel financially. So what I recommend you do there is keep your debts current and concentrate on building at least a 3-month emergency fund first before you start worrying about splitting your savings between building up the emergency fund more and then extra principal payments, because that emergency fund becomes really important in that kind of situation. Now, I know paying off debts and building up an emergency fund is not sexy or glamorous, but it avoids the danger of having to use a credit card or later on having to raid your investments to pay unexpected bills. And when you have a very low income, it doesn't take much of an unexpected bill to turn into an emergency. So it's very much worthwhile to build that emergency fund up. I actually have built it from 6 to 12 months over the last couple of years, and I find the 12 months just works a lot better. You will have far more peace of mind and be far better off after 1 to 3 years of building an emergency fund and paying off debt than trying to invest, pay your debts, and deal with emergencies as they occur all at once. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience here. It really does help. Now, some prefer to set up the emergency fund with a separate savings account in a separate bank. I haven't really found that necessary. If you are one who finds it psychologically easier to do that, I will not think any less of you for doing it if it makes it easier for you. Whatever keeps you using that emergency fund properly and saving regularly, fine with me. The trouble with basic saving is, while savings accounts are secure, even a high-yield savings account pays almost nothing. Financial independence requires that you get your money working as hard for you as possible so that you don't have to work so hard for your money. Once you have your 6-month emergency fund built, I would stop the automatic transfer from checking directly to savings and switch it to an automatic transfer to a taxable investment account. You usually have to do that via the investment account. I use the Vanguard Total Stock Index ETF, symbol VTI. We'll do more on portfolio building in future episodes. The other thing, too, about this is my company has a 401k, but I don't put money into that just yet. I use a taxable account. First off, I'm in the 10% bracket, which means I'm only saving 10 cents of taxes per dollar sheltered, and I can't afford to shelter that many dollars anyway. Plus, in the U.S. right now, long-term capital gains are zero if your adjusted gross income plus your capital gains are less than $38,700. So the tax savings for me is going to be minimal so long as I hold this stuff longer than a year, which I plan to do. Better to spend that money increasing my future income and not tie it up for decades. Now, as my income goes up, I will start contributing to a 401k or IRA as the situation dictates. Again, all of that said, I am not a tax specialist or a CPA, so if you have one and you tell them about this video and they tell you that this is the rantings of an ignorant wretch, then I will defer to their more learned opinion. But this is what's working for me right now. Now you got your savings automated and your investment account being built up. Let's talk about bills. Paying your bills out of a single checking account works well enough, particularly if you use the daily spending limit, but for larger bills that you can't make monthly, like insurance or perhaps property taxes, a buffer account comes in handy. All a buffer account is you open a second checking account. I add up all my fixed bills. I want to have a little more money in there than I need to pay them, so I automatically transfer from my first checking account into this second checking account 1/10 of the total of my fixed bills divided by the number of times I get paid each month. And I do this each payday. And then as that account builds up money, I manually pay these bills online when they're due. These things are at a little too long an interval to be safe for me to be doing this automatically. So I do these manually. The money is always there. This trick can be used for any large bills that you can't pay monthly. Any windfall from something like consulting or elsewhere will generally get split between this account and the VTI account. Gets the money in there to pay the bills in advance. You have the January to April chart up here that I have shown in previous videos. This allows me to get my bills paid for the entire year that I can and save more during months when my bills are few and my income is generally higher. One thing that you see often in a lot of the other videos on automating your finances is the use of a credit card. I don't currently have a credit card. I have preferred to stay debt-free, but I do realize that a good credit score has uses other than going into more debt. And we're going to be covering building and establishing credit in a future series of videos on this show. An easy way to start rebuilding credit, just to give you a basic idea, is to use a credit card to pay just for like gas or just for groceries. Pay it manually from that primary checking account that handles your variable bills. Do that each month to avoid carrying a balance. You can also do this for selected fixed bills in the buffer account, that second checking account, to maximize things like cash back awards and build credit history. The trick is you wait until you have enough money in the account to cover the bill. You charge that bill to your credit card, and then as soon as the bill hits your credit card account, you pay it off immediately from the buffer account. That way you never carry a balance. You have a slightly bigger trade line, and that helps your credit score, and it also helps you build, if you have a cashback card, it'll help you build things like bonus points and cashback points. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is monitor all of your bills and expenses and your net worth. And an easy way to do that all in one place is to use personalcapital.com. You can also use mint.com, but I like the personalcapital.com interface better. So this basic setup is my basic long-only financial structure. It works well at any income level. It is highly scalable. It can be used to implement any of the long-only strategies used by the FIRE community. It will reduce the number of financial actions you need to make each month to 2 or 3. You'll have to pay off your credit card. You'll have to move any excess cash that accumulates in the 2 checking accounts to either saving to build up your emergency fund or replenish it if you have to use it, debt payoff, and to build up your investment stash and FU money. The third thing would be paying the occasional infrequent property tax or insurance bill that you can't pay monthly. Whether you do that just manually or with cash or use a credit card is up to you. So that's the basic financial structure that I have set up for myself. It works really well. It is not dissimilar to any of the other ones you're going to find because we're all basically trying to solve the same problem, so we're all going to wind up doing pretty similar things, but that's the way I do it. If you have a different way of doing it that works better for you, by all means use that. So in the next episode, we're going to look at what we need to do to build this into a structure you can use for a long, short strategy. It's basically just adding a couple of other accounts. Next episode after that, we're going to look at side hustles and how to integrate them into this. Thanks a lot for watching. If you found this interesting or useful and want to see more episodes like it, please give me a like, hit subscribe, or put a comment below. If you do subscribe, remember to click the bell icon so you won't miss an episode. And welcome to any new subscribers. I'm always glad to have you. As always, may the balance of your day be awesome.